critics, punch-drunk critics. That had to happen on the day that we're going to be talking about nothing but Bond. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Cinema Royale. I am John Nolan.
I'm
What's
Travis
up?
Thompson, and I hope our opening was some Bond music and not our usual opening.
No, no, that would have been smart to do, but I am happy to. While you give your review, I can do the background. Dun, 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 dun. I can do that for like an hour. So, if you want,
All
I
right,
can beatbox it underneath,
all right,
make it happen.
yeah.
But no, we are here to talk about a movie that I know. I was going to say I don't know about you, but the truth is I do know about you. We have both been wanting to talk about for almost, well, let's be honest, 6 years now since the last movie came out. But it's been a year and a half since No Time to Die, the latest Bond film, the last Daniel Craig Bond film, was supposed to come out, and we finally have it. It's out, and we've seen it.
Finally,
Yeah.
finally, finally, No Time to Die is here. Like you said, it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years of watching trailers and whatever for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
2 years of speculating on who the next Bond will be, even though he hasn't had a chance to finish yet. All this
Right.
kind of stuff. And it's been pretty crazy the last couple of years. Remember, this was going to be directed by Danny Boyle at first. Remember that?
I still feel like I think Cary Fukunaga did a great job, but I still feel like Danny Boyle is just because I guess Bond really belongs to the world, but he is a British export, so I feel like Danny Boyle would have been the best choice.
I don't know. I like Fukunaga. I think he did a great job as well. And I don't know. I don't know if Danny Boyle would have been right for this or not. I
Has he
really.
done big action? I know he's done like what was the movie where they fly into the space into the sun. He's done some stuff like that, but like big action, I can't think of anything he's done.
Yeah. I mean, I have to think about that. Has he done really big action before? And I feel like I'm missing something from him that I probably um,
I mean, because even
think.
28 Days Later was more of a, it was
Yeah.
smaller character study type deal when you really break it down.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. Maybe not
yeah.
for Danny Boyle. This would have definitely been different from him. For him, he was
Mm-hmm.
going to do this right after he did Train Spotting 2, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know if anybody even remembers Train Spotting 2 anymore.
No, it didn't really have the same hit to it. I mean,
Oh,
I'm inking through his filmography here. It really there isn't anything that's on that level.
no,
Um,
no. Probably the biggest movie he did in terms of size was Slumdog Millionaire.
yeah. Yeah, hey, there
Honestly,
there were some great actiony scenes in that, but nothing on the Bond level. I mean, that
no.
Bond is a whole nother. It's really what created, the seeds of '80s action, which a lot of people see as the pinnacle of big blow 'em up, shoot 'em up action. The seeds of that were laid with Bond back in the day. He was the
To be
first
fair,
action hero.
Cary Fukunaga hadn't really done anything on this scale before either. So I
Yeah,
mean, his movies were also incredibly small. You know,
yeah,
I mean, Beasts of No Nation. Sin. No, what's the number? Did he do Sin Number? Um, Jane Eyre, stuff like that. He's not someone who did a lot of big movies either. So this would have been new for either one of them. I like Fukunaga just because uh, he's a little bit less traditional, I would
hmm
say. So I kind of liked him in this role. Look, this was new. This would have been new for it. It was Skyfall was new in terms of that scale for Sam Mendes too.
hmm
So I mean, so getting a director who's like a big action director has never really been the Bond model, and this
right.
is stretches back before the Craig era too. Like they were never like the types. This franchise was never looking for like a big blockbuster filmmaker to make these Bond movies. So it's
Yeah.
okay. Huguenot is a good pick, and I'm glad that he did this one. And No Time to Die is a movie, like I said, we've been waiting for a long time, and I've been interested in it for one reason and one reason only, and that's because this Bond era has done something that no other Bond has really ever done for me before, which is make me give a shit about Bond the man and not just Bond the guy in the suit. Um,
This
because
is the first
I
time
don't
he's ever had a third dimension, right? I mean, other than on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which I think that's the one that opens with
which this
his
movie
wife
borrows a lot
dying.
from. This movie borrows a lot from that.
Yeah. So other than that, he was a very fun but two dimensional character. He drank, he
Yeah,
smoked,
yeah,
he slept with women, and he killed people. That was about it.
for the most part, yeah, that's true. And this is the first time. that they really built a complete story around Bond, and I wanted to see that story come to a close
Mm-hmm.
and how they were going to do it. And that, to me, they did a tremendous job. This is probably my favorite of the Craig era Bonds. And I'm not the Bond aficionado that some of my friends are, and I'm not the lover of the Bond franchise the way my father was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a few that I liked here and there. I was particularly a fan of the Pierce Brosnan era Bond. So, but that's because that was like anything
That
that
was
was
our Bond, though. That was,
that
growing up,
was
that
it,
was our
right.
Bond.
Exactly. It's like music from that period and TV shows in that period.
Yeah.
It's '90s Bond. So I was like, of course I liked Pierce Brosnan. Of
But I
course I
still
did.
think he has the look down the most. Pierce Brosnan still looks the most like what I would expect James Bond to look like. But
I mean, I guess, but every Bond has been so different. I think our interpretation of what a Bond should look like. If you read the books, Pierce Brosnan doesn't seem like Bond. Like
mm,
Pierce Brosnan does not fit the way Bond is described in books.
I guess what I
So
mean is like somebody that did those things that was irresistible to women, that could fight all these guys, that could be so smooth and
that is,
slick. My brain gives me Pierce Brosnan, but
that's 100% because you grew up with him, the same as me.
yeah,
But people I know who grew up with Roger Moore, I think Roger Moore was the ideal Bond. The guys who grew up with with Sean Connery think Connery was an ideal Bond. It really just depends on which ones hit you at a certain period of your life.
yeah,
And but I would say that as of right now, Daniel Craig is my favorite Bond. It's my favorite Bond. I mean, Daniel Craig I think, is great here, and it's 100% because he has an arc that I give a shit about. And No Time to Die is the culmination of everything that began with Casino Royale. But I would also say that the Craig era kind of soft rebooted itself after Quantum of Solace was such a stinker,
mm-hmm.
that they practically started anew with Skyfall. I mean, this last three movies have been like one big arc, one big story, and that's largely due to the fact they felt they needed to rebound after Quantum of Solace. They just kind of had,
Which was another anthology type. Unless I'm mistaken, it didn't have any direct ties to the plot lines of Casino Royale or Vesper Lind or any of that stuff. It was another one of the movies in the series. It's like, here's another adventure.
yeah,
But then Skyfall takes you right back to say, okay, we had something here. We're going to stick to it.
yeah, it's an outlier, and I think No Time to Die makes it feel like more of an outlier
Mm-hmm.
because this one goes back to Casino Royale, brings back the idea of Vesper Lind, completely skips over whoever Olga Kurylenko's character was and whoever was going on with that movie. With
Poor Gemma Arterton. Nobody even remembers that she was in the Bond movies.
She was Strawberry Fields.
Yep.
But I don't remember anything about that storyline at all in that movie. I don't recall any of it. But I really dug this one for what it does for Bond, into turning him into a three-dimensional character with passions and loves and rivalries. And I love that he begins the movie retired essentially and off on his own with God, I can't remember.
Madeline.
Madeline Swan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Madeline Swan, played by Leah Seydoux, who was absolutely stunning in this movie, man. Good God, she's gorgeous. And I love that it starts off with them kind of going off on their own, and their past coming back to haunt them. And they just got too many secrets between the two of them, which is one of those classic tropes that you always find in people who work in espionage. There's so many secrets between them. Can you ever get past it? And in this case, they couldn't. And it draws him back into what he's been doing. There's a new Bond, a new 007 played by Lashana Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
And they get wrapped up in this whole big mission, this whole big thing to figure out what happened to what's the name of the criminal organization?
Oh, Spectre.
Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who hasn't seen, I'm not going to give away what happens to Spectre in this, but basically they need to figure out what's happening within Spectre, and that leads him to a villain played by Rami Malek.
Safin.
Yeah.
Safin.
I'll say I am not the biggest fan of Rami Malek's character in this. It's not because of him. He's fine. But I felt like for the most part of this movie, Bond and him really weren't at odds.
Yeah.
It kind of, where I was like, he spent a lot of the movie trying to find him, and I was like, To do what? Shake his hand? Like you guys aren't really like on opposite
Yeah.
sides. It seems like it doesn't emerge until later that they become rivals, and at that point, 80% of the movie's over, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling him. I'm feeling everything that Bond is going through, but I'm not really feeling the villain. But boy, does he come through in the end, though. I mean, wow. I mean, talk about villains who leave an impact on the Bond franchise. Whatever Maverick Malick's character does throughout the rest of the movie, the beginning of the movie, he comes through in the end.
I mean, yeah, no, the end. I guess you could say the end justifies the means, but that rubs up against my only real issue with the movie. And I am one of those Bond aficionados. I mean, I watched every single Bond movie when I was a teenager, like 3 or 4 times. I've always loved Bond. For me, it was Sean Connery first, and now it's Daniel Craig first. But there's one thing, you can get an interesting Bond, you can get an interesting Bond girl, an interesting villain, or an interesting plot line. You cannot have more than 2 of those 4 in any Bond movie. Usually those 2 things are really good. So, but in this movie, I thought we had 3. We had 2 interesting Bond girls, or women, I should say, a great Bond, a serviceable, really good villain, but the plot lines, nanobots is something I don't want to hear ever again. I could live my life, and look, I know it's a future tech. It's like when people say quantum.
It's been future tech stuff for about 20 years.
Yeah, like nanobots. To me, it seems like a lazy way to say something you might not understand. The same way that they attach quantum to things all the time. Looking at you, Marvel.
Nanobots are what replaced mind control.
Yeah, right.
Because they essentially they do the same thing, or at least they're always used in the same way that like mind control is used in most of these movies.
Right, and if let's be honest, if you're stealing a major plot line for your movie from G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, then maybe not the best way to go. But that
But that's the problem though. But that's the problem that I have with Bond overall though. How many plot lines are there?
That's what I'm saying. You can't have. How many ways can you kill the world? I mean,
this is why you have the stupid stuff like a villain trying to use like weather satellites to destroy the planet or something. And you're like, okay, or how many end of the world plots are there? And that's why I liked this movie in a sense, because when it comes to Bond in most of these movies, I pretty much ignore whatever the villain's main goal is, because his main goal is always stupid.
Yeah,
and it's always like, well, what happens if you succeed? Like either the world is destroyed and so are you, or now you're in control and that sounds shitty. That sounds shitty. You got to rule the world, and that would fucking suck. Yeah. So I mean, I never think about the plot. I think about how this impacts the hero. That's what I think about. And
it's a good way to look at it, because even when you have an interesting plot and a smartly thought out, Casino Royale had a highly intelligent plot that was very thought out on the effects and the benefits. And it just became boring to everybody because nobody wants to hear about financial markets. We hear about that in our daily lives. I can't stand it.
And nobody wants to go back to that one Bond where it was like blaxploitation Bond. I can't remember which movie that was, where he was actually trying to stop like drug kingpins in the fucking ghetto.
Oh yeah, Pierce Brosnan. And it had everybody's favorite.
No, it wasn't Brosnan.
No, I'm sorry. I'm Timothy Dalton, not Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, it was
blaxploitation era, so it's not Dalton either.
The one way he's trying to stop drug kingpins was it was License to Kill. It's got Frank. He's trying to stop Frank or Franz Sanchez, and
it's Live and Let Die. Duh.
Oh well, I guess he goes after drug lords and 2 of them.
It's Live and Let Die. I don't know why I couldn't think of the title of the movie. But
one of the best title sequences or title songs.
Yeah, he's going after like drug kingpins and stuff, like in the ghetto. And this is
that's the one with Kanego with the voodoo guy.
Yeah.
Okay, that seems way more racist than I thought it was before.
I think Baron Samedi was in that one. But yeah, that was blaxploitation era Bond. That was not world destruction Bond.
Right.
That was Bond playing to a specific genre that was popular in the moment. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like world domination trying to stop, that kind of thing. It was different. I don't think anybody wants that kind of Bond back. But at the same time, I kind of respect that movie because it's smaller in scale, which I like the stories to be smaller in scale. I wanted villains that attack Bond on a personal level, which against all of the stupid plots that are in these movies, this era of Bond did best. Like they
Yeah.
hit him in multiple ways. Whether you want to go back to the death of M or whatever, or all the women that he's kind of lost in this stretch.
His emotional beat up was just as bad as his physical
Yeah,
beat up throughout this whole
yeah,
thing.
exactly, and that's why I respect this Bond. And No Time to Die, I think more than just about any other Bond film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it has fantastic actions. Like put that aside either.
I feel like we've gone too far in this without mentioning the one thing that should always be mentioned first, and that's Ana de Armas, who admittedly didn't have as much to do as I'd hoped. I was happy that she was playing, and she wasn't playing a damsel in distress. Because that's one thing about Bond films is no matter how much you love them, when you look back, there's some really problematic stuff that you can't ignore. Like the scene in Casino Royale where he comes up on the woman, or no, was that Skyfall? Whichever one where he comes up on the girl and he sneaks onto the boat and comes up to her butt naked in the shower. And you're like, watching the first one, I was like, oh, that's sexy. Look at Bond getting his thing. And then later on, I'm like, no, that's not sexy. That's sexual assault is what that is. Pop it up. But, yeah, no, Ana de Armas, I actually legit want to see her in have more meat in an action role. Because she seemed,
Yeah.
the bit she had some stuff to do.
Well, I mean, no, she was really cool for the few minutes that she was in there. And what's great about her is that she's playing. And I don't know if this is just something that's going to follow her around, but she plays sort of like the naive rookie, like the new, and she's likable and kind of quirky, and yeah, that's I think that's why we like her so much in this role because she's kind of a fun little breath of fresh air,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's fairly early in the movie, so it doesn't really need a breath of fresh air at that juncture. But it's nice that you don't get a lot of characters like that. So she was really cool to have around for the few minutes that she was. She looked great. Obviously, she's Ana de Armas. In her dress and fighting and shooting and all that kind of stuff. She looked like she was really good. She was really good at it and having fun. And I liked her opposite Bond. I'd love to see that character come back. I doubt that'll happen. But you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
And then you have Lashana Lynch, who's getting to do what we probably all hoped that Naomi Harris was going to be able to do, but she got relegated. Now, it was a cool twist to see her be Moneypenny after not seeing Moneypenny for so long. But you kind of felt she was sidetracked because she was pretty badass up until she got behind the desk. But Lashana Lynch comes in, as you mentioned earlier, the new 00, the new 007 even, and is kind of showing that, you know what, a girl Bond is not that far off. It's something we can do without breaking the world in half.
That'll never happen. But,
but I'm saying it's she holds her own in there, and it's not. There's no suspension of disbelief or anything like that going on when she's on screen taking care of business.
No. She's fantastic, but we got to remember that 007, like they made clear in the movie a couple of times, 007 is just a designation. So anybody, logically we should know that anybody could be 007. Like logically,
Oh yeah.
But it's the first time we really get a chance to see it. In another world, Naomi Harris would have that role. If Naomi Harris was just coming out right now or fairly recent, maybe a different age, she'd probably be there. She could have that role easy.
How old is she?
I don't know. But Lashana Lynch, she's been around in this franchise for a while. Lashana Lynch is making her first appearance. So
yeah,
if the situations were reversed, Naomi Harris would be perfect for that role.
Right.
But I like Lashana Lynch in this. I do feel like she got not that she's sidetracked in this.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's not hers, so it's hard for me to. You can't really say that it's not her movie. I do feel like she was made to look foolish a couple of times, perhaps unnecessarily. I saw her she practically got captured almost at one point, which is something I never see, in a ridiculous way. And I was just like,
yeah. I mean, Bond gets captured pretty much every movie, but yeah, in a ridiculous way, not so much.
Bond gets captured by the big bad guy, not like from cops on the street.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whatever. This part seems non-Bondish or like a little bit a little bit demeaning in a way here,
Which
but
I couldn't
whatever.
tell if it was because they were trying to show how, like, by contrast, how good Bond was, or try to reiterate that she was new to the role, or what. But
I think they were trying to show that he outsmarted her. And this is what happens.
yeah,
That he's just a better Bond. He's the right Bond. Which fine. You don't make that point. That's fine. Lashana Lynch is good in the role. She's a fantastic actress, and so I'm not knocking her for that.
right.
I did like her, so I like Jeffrey Wright as Felix Leiter. He's my favorite of the Felix Leiters. He's just terrific. I was really impacted by what happens to him in this movie, more so than I expected.
Yeah, so we're not spoiling, obviously, are we? Because there's
Yeah,
just so
the
everybody
movie, the
knows.
movie is just out, so I mean, I'm not going to
Yeah,
go
we're not spoiling, but there are a lot of. I mean, I think it's safe to say that the movie will be divisive for some of its choices, and um, I really like Jeffrey Light's Leiter. Felix Leiter was always a really cool character in the Bond series, but he was never played by a cool actor that I can remember, or a memorable actor even. It was always somebody that shows up and he's like, "Hey, Bond, here's some CIA toys to play with," and he gets out.
But I
But
always
right,
like these characters though. Those are like my favorite characters. The ones who kind of pop in and out. They're really cool, and they're like crucial, and they got like this incredible backstory and history to them that we'll probably never really see.
right,
But the way they carry themselves, you just know that these guys are like the shit. It's
yeah,
kind of like the way I feel about Ving Rhames in the Mission Impossible movies.
no,
It's
right,
like he's not always there,
hmm
but it's like, but when he's there, he's fucking cool as shit. And
yeah.
I know if like we could go off and follow him for a while, he's doing some wild shit that we'll just never know about.
Right. Well, yeah, and that, like, that's what Jeffrey Wright brought to the role. I mean, the previous Felix Leiters, they would literally just come in. You wouldn't even get that feeling from him, but like right from him showing up in Casino Royale with his hyper deep voice and kind of just leaning over, thing. So I think you need some more money to play the bad guy, whatever he said. He just was obviously gonna be one of the better people to play that role from the start, and he proved that throughout. He wasn't in every movie, but he was in most of them, right? I think he only didn't
yeah,
appear in one or two.
I think he's in most of all of them.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. What did you
So
think about the action in this? I really loved that opening sequence, man. With the motorcycle chase, I thought that was incredibly well shot.
yeah,
Daniel Craig obviously is great in the physical stuff, but I thought the cinematography in this is absolutely beautiful. Perhaps my favorite since Skyfall. I thought it was amazing.
yeah. I mean, Skyfall. I think it's impossible to beat Skyfall. I mean, that skyscraper fight with the use of the lights and the
It's deep.
advertisements around were
Hard
they
to beat
Shanghai? Yeah.
hard to beat Deacons in just about anything. So
Yeah.
right.
But it looked great. I mean, and I thought even more so, the fights in that castle or whatever it was, the hand to hand fights I thought came back to the early stuff, Casino Royale type level, like even just the little side fights here and there. The big stuff I thought was not the best of the Craig series, but it's right up there. I would put this number two or three, because it's obviously Skyfall, Casino Royale, and No Time to Die. But I don't know which one would be two. If it would be Skyfall or No Time to Die, I don't know if it beats that or not.
Yeah. I like some nice callbacks here. A lot of fun little gadgets and stuff like that. I like the way they developed Q in this as well. He got a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more time that we got to see him outside of the workshop. I like that aspect of it. It seemed like this movie was doing a lot to give each character their moment.
Right.
Um, and I thought that was a really nice way to kind of give these characters a send off, a proper send off, all of them.
Yeah. And that's
And
what
I think,
that's what it felt like. It felt like it not it, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Like it felt like they were trying to shoehorn this in, but it felt like they were aware that this is the last Bond film for probably a lot of these actors who probably were contracted on for just these movies, and they might even, who knows how they're going to do the next one. So it felt like a proper way to say goodbye to not the characters but the actors that were involved.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing this on an IMAX screen. I'm hoping. I haven't looked to see if it's playing at the Ufar Hazy or not, but if it is, I'm going to
Ooh,
go check it for sure. They were
Yeah,
playing Venom there last weekend. They've been closed this entire time throughout the pandemic. But they just opened back like last week for Venom for like 3 days.
yeah.
And I'm wondering if they've got No Time to Die there now. If they do, I'm going to go and check it out.
Yeah, for
So
those who aren't in the DC metro area, or if you are and just don't know what we're talking about, the Udvar Hazy it's an offshoot of the Air and Space Museum in DC. It's over in Northern Virginia, and it hosts the largest IMAX screen, definitely in this area.
yeah,
I'm trying to think if I remember how big it is, or how I'd even reference how big it is, but it is
70 feet.
ginormous.
The 70 feet.
It sounds about right. It's ridiculous to see in your eye. You sit down and you're looking all the way up and see nothing but screen. Which I saw Transformers there.
Oh yeah,
You went too. This was an early one. It was Michael Bay was at the screening, and probably the worst movie to see on an IMAX that big, because you can't tell what's going on if you're watching on a 13-inch HD TV. But on that screen, it's just colors and sounds.
Yeah. I've seen like almost all. I saw the entire Star Wars, the most recent trilogy. I saw all of them there.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, I've seen them all there. I went to see them all there at one point or another. The best one was The Last Jedi, of course, is the best of the three. But also because of that one moment, the one where they hyperdrive through the ship, and that big flash of light.
Yeah.
That on that screen, in a room full of people who had not seen it yet.
Oh wow. Yeah, I mean the sound design on that alone, because that's the other thing that we didn't mention is it's not just a big screen. They have this amazing sound system there too.
Yeah, it's really great. The audible gasp at that moment, I'll never forget it. But I saw most of the Marvel movies there too. Black Panther, pretty much everything that's come out over the last 5 or 6 years. I've seen it. That Udvar Hazy has been.
I have to keep reminding myself that my office now is over in Herndon, so I'm right by there. I need to drop in quite a bit more.
Go there after 5 for free parking.
So without spoiling anything, the resolution of this film, does it change the base? How do I say this? Does it change our foundational knowledge of Bond? Like, we know Daniel Craig, this is his last movie, and we know that usually they just replace Bond and don't really say anything about it being a different Bond. They just keep going. Does this change that at all? Do you think they're going to try and attempt anything different with the next Bond?
I don't think they fundamentally change anything about Bond. Like, for people who are, and before we move into this, I'm just going to say Bond, great. You should go see it. I think John agreed. I don't think they fundamentally change anything about Bond. I know there's a lot of people who are like, they should do a female Bond. I don't want a female Bond. I'm in the Daniel Craig camp here on this, where I would rather just see women have better roles within the Bond franchise. Right. So characters like Lashana Lynch's character, or Ana de Armas' character, or even Leia Saido's character, give them better things to do in these movies than just be conquests. And I think that's more than enough. That's what I want to see. I don't like seeing a lot of these characters get changed just because. I don't even want to see a black Bond. Like, I don't. When people were like, they want to see John Boyega as Bond. I don't want to see John Boyega as Bond. I want to see John Boyega have his own spy franchise maybe one day, but he doesn't have to be James Bond. I'm okay with the character being who he is, a white English dude. I'm fine with that. I don't care. And based on what I've heard from the producers of Bond, they don't want to see him change either, and they probably won't. And they probably won't do anything like that. They also said they have no plans to do any spin-offs or anything like that with Bond right now either, which will probably disappoint people who want to see more of Lashana Lynch's character or Ana de Armas' character. But that's not their plan right now. But then again, they're also not saying anything for a while so that Daniel Craig can get his proper due for his final time as Bond, and he deserves it. He's given us the most complex Bond we've ever had. And I think he's done a tremendous job, and he deserves the credit for all of it, for everything that he's done in it. And he deserves to kind of bask in the glory of it. I hope the movie does extremely well. It's already at over $300 million worldwide. It's fantastic. It did $56 million domestic this week, which is okay. It's not great, but it's fine.
Especially when you consider that he did the last 2 or 3 movies really. I'm not going to say against his will, but he wasn't gung ho to do them. But he still went in these extremely physically demanding movies and still gave us what we wanted to see as an audience and gave it his best. He wasn't phoning it in because he didn't feel like doing it anymore. That's something I think that's
after Skyfall.
What's that?
He's been talking about quitting since after Skyfall.
I thought it was even before Skyfall that he was like, oh, this is a lot. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to keep this up.
The physical demands of it are incredible.
I mean, he's almost 55 years old, for Christ's sake. I mean,
yeah, and in impeccable shape.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Rachel Weisz is very lucky, I guess. But then again, he's super lucky too.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's at least look at the other side of that too, because.
But I said, you remember they met for Dreamhouse? Well, that was
I know. And oh god, there was some other. It's funny because these couples seem to meet on these horrible movies they do together, and then I'm trying to remember. It's on the tip of my tongue.
And Alicia Vikander for that Lighthouse movie.
Right.
But this is why I always make the joke that this is why you see actors really fight for these roles, because look who you beat. I mean,
yeah, I know, right?
you end up marrying your co-star half the time.
Yeah. Worst case, you get to make out with a superstar. Best case, you end up married to him.
Me, I'd probably win a movie role, and my co-star would be Heather Matarazzo or something.
That's messed up. Oh man, poor Heather Matarazzo. She's wonderful. She has a great personality.
She's gay anyway now, but still anyway. but no, I mean,
I think what you're saying, I think that deserves another moment or two. Is that what in a world right now where literally everything is being looked at for should it change with the times? We are an extremely high rate of change for a lot of cultural things, a lot of pop cultural things, where stuff that's been done the same way for years and years and years has changed. And Bond has, I mean, let's not overlook the changes that have undergone. It's not just more character driven, but he's also become, Daniel Craig's Bond was never really, he kind of acted the womanizer role a little bit here and there with, with Vesper Lynd in the very beginning, like his flirtations were a little bit like that, but he never went that line. Was that?
Certainly with Strawberry Fields, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So but he was on the rebound. That's not his fault.
But he had his moments, but this is all part and parcel of the last, 3 movies where he's had this arc where he's been in love for the most part.
Right.
That becomes a different change in mindset for this kind of Bond. And I think if anything, if you're going to see Bond change in any way, it's going to be that. It's going to be stuff like that. It's going to be making him more suitable to this time period than in some of the other ones where some of his attitude towards women was accepted.
Yeah.
You're going to see him change in that.
Some of that early stuff was real bad.
Yeah, more significant changes to him in terms of that stuff than his physical characteristics.
Right.
He's always going to be English in some way. He's always probably going to be white, and that's, to me, that's fine. I wouldn't be surprised if they go as far as maybe having a mixed race Bond.
I mean, Idris Elba would. I know that's a tired choice, but I would have no problem. And I've been, I'm a suburban white guy who's loved Bond since he was as old as he could watch TV. But I would have no problem with Idris Elba. It's about it for me. Bond is about like an attitude. It's like a spirit they bring to it. But I guess the point of what I'm saying with the womanizing thing is that this should let a lot of people know that yes, if it's done right, you can absolutely change things that you think are important about a character, and as long as they're not the actual foundational things, then it's going to be good, if not better than it was before.
So who would you like to see as Bond? Like let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit. Who would be your top pick? Now, my top pick number 1, if I had to choose a Bond, it would be Henry Cavill. He's what I would like to. He would be my number 1 choice. If it can't be Matthias Schoenaerts, of course, who is Austrian, so he probably will never get it. It would be Henry Cavill. That's my number 1 choice. Who would be yours?
So Henry Cavill as well. I mean, I think he proved that he can run this role without a problem after he did The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I don't remember our review of that, but I mean that's a movie that fell under the radar and didn't get a lot of credit, but it was a really good, fun spy movie, and I thought he was great in it. But the other person, I mean, if you're going younger, I like Taron Egerton. I think he would be a good Bond.
I don't like him as Bond. I think the fact that he's got Kingsman all but excludes him from ever being.
Yeah, fair enough. James Norton's another one that I thought was there.
What about Henry Golden? What about Henry Golden?
I'd be okay with that. He's got the look. He's got that Pierce Brosnan-ish thing to him, where he's suave. You could see him doing that job. Richard Madden is the other one. I haven't seen
Roger Jean Page from
Bridgerton.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Like him. A lot of people like him. I mean, a darker skinned Bond, which would be interesting.
I think Idris Elba at this point is a little too old. I'd say Taron Egerton probably a little too young. Richard Madden.
I don't like Tom Hardy for it. I never liked that idea.
I can see where they get that idea because he does have something about him that seems like he would be, but he'd be more of a good Felix Leiter than a James Bond, if you ask me. Like
Hardy and Craig, I think, and Craig too. They both fit more of the model of how Bond is described in the books.
Yeah.
So I mean, I the few that I've read, I remember him always being described as a blunt instrument. Like that's the way they would always describe him. And those two guys really suited that description to me. So I always liked the idea of Daniel Craig in that role. Tom Hardy, I don't like just because I don't see him as suave enough. I just don't. Like I know he can do it, but I don't think he's quite on the Bond level of doing it.
Yeah. Well, I haven't worked out the specifics of screen sharing and throwing things up onto a screen on a fly here. But if you guys go to the Wikipedia entry for James Bond, there's a drawing that Ian Fleming basically had commissioned when Bond was being done as a comic strip in England of what he thought Bond looked like. And surprise, surprise, he kind of looks like Ian Fleming. But honestly, the drawing of Bond looks more like Ray Fiennes than anything else. So, I think of everybody we mentioned here, I think Henry Cavill is the most obvious, like, traditional choice.
Yeah.
Some others I've heard, like Daniel Kaluuya, Riz Ahmed. I don't really see it, but Richard Madden, I think, would be the next biggest choice. I mean, because he's got that Prince Charming look. I don't know if he's got the physicality to be Bond, though. Is the big thing. Yeah,
we might find out in Eternals next month.
That's true. I know we're a Bond centric show right now, and I also know we gotta close up shop here in a minute. But
how long has it been?
Well, I know. I guess it's only 3:15. I was thinking. But you said you don't have to go now, so we're good.
Well, how time is it? How much time has passed?
No, we're going marathon now. You're open. It's been 40 minutes, so we got some time.
Really? Wow,
I know, right? And just 2 seconds turns into 2 hours. But oh shit, I forgot where I was going with that.
This whole show is distracting me from Squid Game, which I've got paused over here.
So I haven't dug into it yet. Is it worth the hype? I mean,
I just started last night, and I'm on like episode 3 or 4. I think 3.
Is it Battle Royale?
It's Battle Royale meets Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
I'm in. I forgot about that show. I love that show.
But it's like those two things with like. But if I had to lean into one more than the other, it's Battle Royale, just because of the the character dynamics between all of the violence.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here, like a lot of characters with a whole lot of shit going on in between all the really crazy stuff.
I don't know why I've been
a bit of a mix of the two, and I'm digging it so far. So we'll see. And I'm not as enthusiastic about it as some other people I know who are going ape shit. And I know a lot of those people have never watched Korean cinema or in their lives, so they're probably not used to this level of craziness, which is probably part of it.
Okay.
But to me, I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, this has echoes of this, has echoes of that. It's still really good to watch, though. It's still really fun.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see where it goes. So, but the games they're choosing to play are really, really funny. So
see, you sold me. I didn't need any other selling once you worked in MXC because anybody that's I guess under 30 wouldn't know, but G4 used to play this show. It was their filler show, played all the time. It's called MXC, and it was basically like a wipeout type game where people did obstacle courses and stuff like that, and you had.
This is where all these ideas for all these shows you see in America, where people do run obstacle courses and shit. Most of them spring from Japanese TV game shows.
Right, and they had these two commentators that were cartoon characters. Is the only thing you think of. And you know what I always wanted to do?
Legendary beat Takeshi Kitano from Battle Royale. So,
oh, was he really?
Yeah,
I didn't even put that together.
Was the games master of Battle Royale.
I did not even put that together. But I always wanted to get somebody that spoke Japanese to translate for me because I know that what they were saying does not match up with the dub at all. So I would like to see if the original show was more serious and it was just funny because of the dub. But
the original is not more serious. It's just culturally they're completely different. And I'm frozen.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm frozen here. So give me a second.
Yeah.
My camera died.
While Travis is working that out, make sure you guys go over to punchdrunkcritics.com for all the reviews, interviews, and news stories we have up right now. We got reviews for South of Heaven, The Manor, and Madres. Those are two Blumhouse films, if I'm not mistaken. Mass, Lamb, and of course, No Time to Die. All those reviews are up and ready for you to take a glander at right now.
A couple of nice interviews this week. Ann Dowd and Reed Birney, and Jason Isaacs and Fran Kranz. All those for Mass. So definitely go and check those out. There'll be another interview posting tomorrow with Carlson Young for the movie The Blazing World. John, you'll like Carlson Young. Go look up her picture and you'll probably like her.
Nice. Yeah, Travis gets little messages from me whenever the interviews go up and the person's of a certain visual persuasion, I guess you could say.
Pretty good. Yeah. And it was a great interview as well. Don't get me wrong. She's got a Blazing World. Whatever opinion I have on the movie as a whole, her visual eye as a first-time filmmaker is incredible. So definitely worth checking out for that. I think Jake will be reviewing that movie this week. I have Middleburg coming up in a few days, so I am going to be.
We got DC Fandom this weekend, and I'll be locked down on Saturday to make sure you guys get all your DC fandom information and articles right away.
Sent you an email about that, I think, too. So
I'll double check. Got it.
Yeah.
I did have two trailers hit this week that I wanted to ask you about before we get out. I think one of them might have been last week, but House of the Dragon and Peacemaker both had trailers come out this week. Two wildly different projects on different streaming services. No, they're on the same streaming service, aren't they? Peacemaker, the continuation of Suicide Squad, John Cena's character there. And then House of the Dragon, obviously the Game of Thrones spinoff. So Peacemaker, there's not much meat in the trailer, but it's
a pretty great scene though. It's a clip.
It was a great scene. I was surprised to see that they're making him as goofy as they are. Like he's not as fear-inducing. Basically, his CIA team or his Amanda Waller team, whatever you want to call it, is sitting at a diner waiting for him, and they're just making fun of him the whole time. And then he walks up and sits down, and they continue making fun of him the whole time.
He's kind of a goof in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but I guess if being a goof to Idris Elba versus to your tech nerds is two different things to me.
But he's a goof because he looks ridiculous and he's incredibly dangerous. That's what makes him a goof.
Yeah.
And that's why these people can goof on him the way they do, and so easily, because he's ridiculous. He's utterly, everything he's about is ridiculous. Even the things that he says that he completely believes in, or so he says, are ridiculous.
They call it a costume. He's like, it's not a costume, it's a uniform.
Right. And the thing that makes him ridiculous is that he believes that.
Yeah.
Now, if Captain America said that, it wouldn't be funny.
Mm-hmm.
But someone like Peacemaker say that because he looks stupid, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And to me that show looks like it's going to be great. If they're going to be able to poke fun at that guy and deconstruct him in the way he deserves to be deconstructed, and that's going to be fun. House of the Dragon, I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm probably not going to watch any of the Game of Thrones spinoffs. I have zero interest. I watched Game of Thrones. I enjoyed it. Even season 8, I enjoyed it for what it was. Even though I admit it had problems. Like I see the same problems everybody else had with it.
Mhm.
But that doesn't detract from my enjoyment of the overall show. Like a lot of people, "Oh, season 8 ruined the whole thing." No, it didn't. That's bullshit.
Yeah, ruined a couple episodes.
Right, I know. It's like, get over it. It had a bad season, but that doesn't ruin the whole
Yeah.
show. I'll give you a hint. Every show has a bad season. I
Yeah.
don't care what show it is. Every show has a bad season. I love Seinfeld more than any show in the world. It's had a couple bad seasons. Okay, so I mean, it is what it is. But House of Dragon, I don't have any real interest in. I might watch an episode just to see if it looks me, but I seriously doubt it.
Well, from my side, I definitely was not interested in it. I loved Game of Thrones. I think really season 8 really just had a few bad episodes. I mean, it's to say it's just a bad season, I think is a bit of an understatement. They spectacularly fumbled what should have been a pretty easy handoff. And then when you compound it with things like they rejected the additional seasons that they would have needed to, but
Yeah.
I digress. That being said, I didn't have any interest only because it's been so long, and I know it's only been two or 3 years, but it's been a long 2 or 3 years with COVID and everything else come out and all the major things that's happened. I just my head is not in Westeros anymore. But seeing the trailer, I'd be lying if I didn't say that it started to pull me in a little bit already. So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to that.
maybe this will love you by the time it comes out. Maybe it'll do the same with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, I feel like Game of Thrones is one of those shows. I feel like I'm done with that world. Like I don't know if I'm interested in coming back to it or not right now. But then again, I also felt the same way about The Sopranos before I saw the Many Saints of Newark, and now I want to go back to that. So anything could drag me in. It hits me at the right moment.
Right.
So,
And that's what it's all about.
yeah, we'll see.
All right.
So next week, I don't know if we're going to have a show or not, just because, like I said, I'm going to be away for 4 days with Middleburg. I feel like we should have one just because I probably want to talk about The Last Duel, which comes out next week.
I cannot wait. I know you've already seen it. I can't wait to see it.
I just wrote my review last night. So it can go up in a day or so.
Mm-hmm.
And Halloween Kills is also next week.
Yeah.
Which I'm promising myself I'm going to watch Halloween tonight because I've not watched it yet.
The original?
The 2018.
28. You haven't seen it at all?
No.
Oh.
I didn't review it, so I think Jake reviewed it for us or someone else did, but it wasn't me.
Huh.
But I'm reviewing this one because it's just going to be me. So this falls on me unless you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to see it, so I can do it. I was supposed to get a link, but I don't. That's some behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I'm going to watch it regardless. It might just be a matter of if I don't get a link that I have to write it the day of.
I was supposed to get a link too, and knowing the way they send links, you probably won't get it until Tuesday, the day of the screening that they're having.
Well, yeah, that's more my thing anyway. I can take that on.
Okay, that's fine with me.
All right.
I think because I'm getting a link, I might have to review something on it, but I can do so I can figure something out. I'm not worried about it.
Right on. Yeah, and then we'll probably we have to do a show next week because we've also got DC Fandom and anything coming out of Middleburg. But we'll probably do it Monday or Tuesday, if not Wednesday, and do it later on in the week. So, plenty of news. This was a movie-heavy episode. Next week will probably be a news-heavy episode. But until then, you can keep up with all our stuff right here. Oop, that's the wrong screen. www.punchdrunkcritics.com. That's www.punchdrunkcritics.com. On Twitter, you can get notifications whenever we put up a new article. Just follow at PDC Movies. Travis is at Punchy Critic, and I am at PunchDrunkJohn. On Twitch, follow Travis at cinematic_enforcer. And for anything you want to reach out to us about, tips, questions, want to come write for PDC, anything like that, info@punchdrunkcritics.com. We might even read your email. Yeah, we might. It's not a definite, but we could. It's a possibility. So that being said, until next week, guys, I'm John.
Travis.
And we are out of here.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff. Thanks for checking.